All right. Hello. Hey, everyone. We're here with Gareth. Super excited to have some time with you. Y'all know Evan. I'm Christopher. And what we're going to talk about as our icebreaker today. So hygiene related.
Ooh.
Okay. What's the thing that you weren't taught and you had to figure out? And it can be from like any point in life, right? Any point in life.
PG.
Sure.
What?
Well, not just the importance of flossing, but the importance of high quality floss.
Tell me more.
I spend a lot of money on floss.
Okay.
Do you really?
I do.
All right. So tell us, for our listeners and for me.
Yeah.
My floss is about $15.
Okay.
But it's totally worth it. And if I use floss that's like, a couple of bucks.
Yeah. Doesn't cut it.
Just doesn't do it for me.
So what's different? Is it like the thread?
It's the thread. It's the kind of diameter. It's kind of like raised. So there is the feeling you have after $15 floss.
Yeah.
I feel like you like jump out of this chair with joy. Like I don't know how.
I mean, that's why I asked the question. Though. I mean, here's the thing. So what's the brand?
Something like Dr. Tugs or something like that.
Okay, that's funny. I like that.
I'm ordering them today.
Yeah.
Can I come by and just get like
like
6 inches of
get a 3-pack.
Oh, perfect. Well, there we go. Then each of us get one. All right, cool. Evan, what do you got?
I was just, I don't know. I don't know if this is hygiene, but like I was not like we didn't use face wash.
Yeah.
So like I was like, I just used a bar of soap, right? Mm-hmm. So now like using face wash, I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay. So face wash. On my side of it, I think just understanding that all of your hygiene products have a life cycle to them. So, your razors, there's a specific amount of time that you should be using a razor for. And just knowing that you can feel it.
That's a sales marketing thing. They're
100%.
They're trying to get you to get more razors.
No, here's the part of it. Why do we sharpen our shears? Why are we using different razors on when we're doing razor cuts, right? Mm-hmm. The narrative within the industry would be is like, hey, like one is going to last a haircut. We know a couple tricks of the trade to be able to get that to stretch, but there is a specific point that you're actually going to start doing damage. On that side of it though, all of our hygiene products have a life cycle. Don't push it. Don't be a peasant. I love the way that you said that. I'm literally like, I'm thinking about what I have in my bag. I'm like, I'm embarrassed to use this now. All right. Well, that provided value.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and jump in. All right, today on the podcast, we have our good friend, Gareth, who moved down here to work at Silver Salon. I'm telling you, like, I knew I was like, I like this guy, but the more I spent time with him, I was like, okay, like, we're like best friends, like stepbrothers with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. I'm like, do you like guacamole? If you don't get that reference, I feel like I'm dating myself.
No, watch the movie though. That's a good classic.
Yeah, it is a great classic. But Gareth, it's funny because we were in Wisconsin, Christopher and I, and we were doing a workshop, and this guy sat in there, and he was just one of those guys you're like, I need to meet this guy afterwards. And the guy says, you're Evan Silver. Gareth works at your salon. I was like, what? And it's Gareth's friend. So Gareth, he'll tell a story here in a second, but I was just like, everywhere I go, Gareth has a connection. If you ever met Gareth, you would like just fall in love. Like you're so easy to talk to, and you're super, super talented. So it makes sense now. At the beginning, I was like, my God, how does everybody know this guy? So kind of catch us up to speed. You have a funny accent.
Yep.
So where are you from? Like Kentucky or something?
Yes. Yeah. London, Kentucky.
London. That was good. We didn't even prep for that. So tell us, like, you grew up in London and now you're here. How did you get here?
So grew up in Southeast London and really thought about doing hair when I was like 11. And it's funny how like certain moments just kind of really stick in your memory. And it was 1987, and there was a boy band called Bros. Okay. And Kelly Stone, who I had a big time crush on when I was 11.
Okay.
All right. She was crazy about Bros. So I was like, I'm going to get my hair cut like Bros. They had a very, it was 1987, right? So, and they had like really tight through the size, push back gelled, like studio line from L'Oreal gel.
Yep.
Right? And so I said to my mom, I said, Mum, I want to go to Club 21, which was the salon to go to in my town in Bexley Heath in southeast London. And I said, I want to get my hair cut like Bros. And I always remember, we didn't have much money growing up, but the one thing my mum would spend money on was her hair. And she would see Graham, who was one of the owners at Club 21. So I said, I want Graham to cut my hair. And she said, I'm not spending that. You can go to the barber shop like you normally do. I said, no, seriously, Mum, I want to get my hair cut like Bros. She goes, well, you can have it for your birthday.
Okay.
And I was like, done. So that when I was 11, I got my hair cut for my birthday.
Wow.
At a fancy salon. But I remember every single bit of it. I remember walking into the salon. I remember booking my appointment. I remember the energy of the salon because the way that they had the reception desk was right in the center of the salon. It was all going on. It was the 80s music blasting. And I remember booking my appointment myself.
Was it on Forest?
It was... Yeah, it was on
Sapling, I think they were called at the time. There wasn't a bunch of them.
I was looking for that. That's a good one.
I'm here for
it. So, and I remember them writing my name down and saying, going for Bros. Right. And I remember then going for my appointment, the shampoo, the energy of the salon, getting my hair cut. I looked nothing like Bros coming out. But that didn't matter. The whole energy and experience of the salon was like nothing. That really, it really just stuck with me. And then later on, you know what it's like when you're in your teenage years. You try a few, you think you're going to do this, you think you're going to do that. And then I stuck around for an extra year at school and wasted my time. Mum said, you need to get yourself a job. And she handed me the newspaper because that's how we did it back then, right? The local newspaper. And there was an ad for a company called Graham Webb needing apprentice hairdressers. And that's how it started. So Graham Webb had a Washington, D.C. academy. And I knew in that interview, that's where I wanted to go. So everything from that point, from apprenticeship, day one, it was a 3-year apprenticeship. It was tough, but I was very driven to come.
Incredible.
What year did you come to America?
1997.
1997, the 1900s.
Yes.
So just very quickly, what were some of the cultural differences from London to America that you saw when you first came over?
Well, one of the first sandwiches I asked for was a tuna sandwich.
A what?
Exactly. That was the response from the person behind the... And my friend said, tuna. He wants a tuna sandwich. So that's one of the things is that whenever I go back home to England, they always think that I speak like an American. And why do you talk like that? I'm like, do you know what it's like to repeat yourself 3 or 4 times if you want a sandwich or
anything?
Anything. So you just adapt. Yeah.
So your accent doesn't really have a home. It's not accepted in London.
It's mid-Atlantic.
It's not accepted.
The middle of the.
You're oceanic. You sound oceanic.
All right. So you came to with Graham Webb. You got the apprenticeship. Tell us that story from there, and then the company that you worked with and started educating with them. Which you can say the company. I just don't want to give it all out, but
sure.
Tell us how that.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So I was only supposed to be here for 2 years, and 28 years later, however far I am. And at that time, back in the 90s, Graham Webb was a product company, and it was a pretty big product company. They had not only the Graham Webb line, but also then Back to Basics, which was the big one. And so I was really lucky because of the people I worked with. I mean, I was barely 21. I turned 21 on June 21st, 1997. I was on the plane to the United States July 10th. And all of a sudden, I'm working with these people at the academy, my friend G or Gerard, Irene, Meikle, Sarah, Julia, those guys who had been in the business for a really long time. And it was just the first moment I really realized that it is true who you surround yourself with. Because my my levels were here and they were good. But because of the people I was working with, now I had to be up here. I was seeing it every single day, not just in terms of execution, but how these people really understood what they were doing. And so every day I was going to work with people where I was like, I want to be that good. So I was involved in the advanced education, like really, really quickly. And so again, I had to step up, and that was really incredible for being so young, to be given that opportunity. After that, I kind of did a little bit of jumping around. I went to Connecticut. There was a really strong distributor for Graham Webb up in Connecticut, and they trusted me with a lot of their top accounts. So again, I learned what it was like to be in these salons where, like, you didn't just go in and your accent wasn't enough. Like, your accent helps, but if you don't have the goods to back it up, then you're just wasting valuable time. So that was another lesson that I learned really quickly. So then after that, we had kids, and, you're kind of just trying to focus on that. And I was in the salon, but I did miss education. Education has always been at my at the heart. And I got an opportunity out of the blue. There was a hair show that I really didn't want to go to. And everybody else in the salon was going. And it was in Ocean City, Maryland. You've been to Ocean City, Maryland.
You love Ocean City, Maryland.
So I was thinking, how can I get out of this? And one of our sales consultants had just pinned a flyer, a photocopied flyer on the board. And we had just brought in Surface when it had just launched. And so there was an opportunity just to go to an event, and Wayne Grund was doing it because they had literally just started. And I hadn't met Wayne, but I went, and my friend Gerard just happened to be going because he'd started working at a salon in Virginia. So you know what it's like. Sometimes when you go, you're like, oh, is it going to be good? Is it not? And I was like, well, at least my mate's going to be there, so we'll have a laugh.
Right.
And so I go, and everything that I was feeling at that time in the industry, this was 2009, everything I was feeling at that time, this guy was talking about.
Yeah, he did a really great job with reading that, because he had taken Grund,
right,
and that they had wound that up, and then Surface came out of that.
Yep.
I just want to say, when you applied at our salon, you put Wayne Grund as a reference. And I was like, this guy's either insane or he knows how to network.
Both.
So I go. Now, when I've been to a class that I really enjoy and has really made an impact, well, all classes I want to thank the educator afterwards, but I really want them, because I know what it's like to be up there. And so I just said to Wayne, hey, I really enjoyed the class. And he said to me, you're Gareth, aren't you? And I said, yes. And he goes, would you mind just sticking around after everybody has gone? And he said the same to my friend Gerard. So now the distributor that was carrying Surface in the DC market at that time, they were the eventual owners of the Graham Webb Academy. So that's how I knew them. And I knew not only the owner, but I knew his son really well. And they were just really good people to me throughout my career. So we get chatting. And at the end of it, Wayne just says, hey, listen, we only just launched this, and this thing is taking off like you wouldn't believe. And he said, and we're trying to grow our education team, and we just need people with experience to do the shows. Now, my response was, in my head, yeah, everybody says that, right? But then most companies have a show team where it's impenetrable, right? And I just thought, well, okay, I'll see where this goes. So we did some training with them. But true to his word, and that's the one thing that I learned about Wayne, he was always true to his word. If he said he was going to do something, he did it. The following March, I'm at ABS at my first show, mic'd up, doing it with my long hair. That's how I know what it's like to have to wash your hair every 2 or 3 days. But there I was, and so it was just really exciting. And I just felt very fortunate to be around an industry leader who had been around for a long time, but would take the time to coach you, truly just a great coach. And I remember him talking about the hockey teams, the junior hockey teams that he would coach. And I was like, that's where you got it from. Like, you're just a natural coach. So I just felt very fortunate to be around not just him, but then the kind of people that someone like that grows. Around them.
And you still have that heart for education. So I didn't know that story, but I mean, I got my haircut by you last week.
I literally noticed what you did differently.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I just
Absolutely.
watched and I was like, he's going at this. Like, the people that cut my hair, like it's all been great, but like yours, I feel like you you approached it a different way. And so I was asking you questions as we were going through, but like we just finished, I think we got most of them edited now that we're releasing online education from you. So first off, thank you. Because we saw your heart for education and we saw a need for our industry where people are like, hey, who are the educators out there that are good? That's what people are looking. They're like looking for educators, especially if it's in-house, like somebody who's going to be on time. Somebody who's going to be, have their stuff together. They're not going to be plugging in HDMI cables 10 minutes before class or right when it starts. Like they show up and they're prepared and like they're relatable. They're funny. They're smart and trained and educated. And you are that. So seeing that, we're like, hey, we see a need. You have a passion. Let's let these two worlds collaborate. And so you came, I want you to talk about the classic cutting, the course that we're going to release in March. What did that, and I don't know when this podcast is going out. We might just put this one up to the top.
Did you just timestamp
I did
this?
timestamp.
Well, look at
if you don't know,
look
Christopher, he timestamps every podcast and I hate it. Cause I'm like, dude, this might be, 3 months down the road, but walk us through. Cause we had a conversation. I was like, explain this to me because what you're doing is like up here and where my knowledge is probably down below the table. But, walk us through like what a salon owner is like. All right, tell me more. Explain why I would need to do something like this.
What we share in classic cutting is the foundation and the underpinning of every single haircut that I've done for the 30 odd years that I've been behind the chair. I can honestly say that. So what I feel is really strong about classic cutting is we're not trotting out something just because. It's actually, it exists, it works, it lives, and it forms the foundation. Now, there's many, many, many great cutting programs. We all know that. And there's people that I watch, there's people that I go to their classes because, my favorite saying, which actually I picked up from Wayne, is when you're green, you grow, when you're ripe, you rot. And you've got to constantly be challenging yourself to get better. So this is not a matter of us saying to someone, oh, well, everything else out there is terrible and this is the only way to cut hair. What we're really saying is that if you are looking for guidance, if you're looking for stability, if you're looking for a way of doing things that will underpin everything that you do in your salon in regards to cutting, and not only will it teach great technique, but it will also help you organize what you already do so that you utilize it better. And so in my career, I've never come away from that, even though I have changed styles of cutting many times because it keeps me fresh. Whenever I approach any haircut, I don't worry about what has happened before. Now, I might ask a guest, what do you like about your hair? But I'm not trying to follow the haircut because it's a creative business. So every haircut I create, but I've got to have a reference. And the classic cutting is just such a great reference to build what any guest comes in asking for, because the conversations that I would have with my teammates or salons out in the industry is, I feel like in America, color education is great and it is everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want a great color class in this country, you're in great shape. And there are great hair cutters, but also, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, but also the shift in the industry in the last few years in terms of how much influencer education is a reality and is valid. And so that it adds even more to the benefit of having a structure within your salon and in the mindset of a team that they can watch any video, whether it's 30 minutes long or a 30-second, Instagram reel, and go, I can do that,
right?
Because I know the fundamentals.
I love it when we were meeting and you hinted on it, is that there's great classes for color, and you use this analogy of like people go to, when they approach color, they have a plan.
Yeah.
But a lot of stylists, when they go to cutting,
yeah,
they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And so this will fill that void, right? Of like,
Absolutely.
Hey, when you go to cutting, it's just as artistic and can be just as glamorous as the color, right?
It is. Yeah. And the beauty of this too is in the same way that if you go to a class, if you are someone who really wants to understand color, well, then you need to know your color theory. Right. You need to know your primaries and such. You don't just get thrown formulas all the time.
Right.
Because all you're doing is copying somebody's formula.
And not understand the why.
You got it. And that's what we do with classic cutting is this is in the same way we have color fundamentals so that you can recreate any color if you know those truths. It's the same with classic cutting.
And I think, one of the reasons, when we looked at this was, again, always wanting to be better. The largest thing that we're seeing right now of people that are coming out of school licensed, I just don't think that there's the number of at-bats. And when a person wants to do something bold within a haircut, you likely would go to a school, the value proposition of getting color done, and it's a bit safer, right? There's educators there. On the side of it with cutting, it's like, if you overlift, underlift, whatever that situation is, it's likely fixable, right? As long as you haven't trashed the hair. Whereas from a cutting standpoint, you're not going to get the at-bats because the trust isn't there, right? And I think that that's where, a program like this is really essential. And this is, why this will be something that will be, in addition to the Artist Academy. For those that are either aware that they need additional understanding that you might not have gotten school, again, because of that at-bat situation, or for those people that are like, hey, you know what? I'd rather not continue to do a haircut 3 times as I'm figuring out what I need to do.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a deeper level of understanding that this is going to be the end result when I do this.
Yeah.
Right. So really creating that like high level creative of like, you understand it.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty. Like I get excited about,
I can feel it.
Hair
I can literally feel it just sitting next to you.
And to be able to have a guest, and that's why I really feel for any teammates that I've ever had where they've struggled with cutting, because you can see them like trying to get out of like, okay, I just don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, like, the amount of times that I've taken risks with a haircut, especially with a brand new guest, and like, my adrenaline level is like off the charts because I'm like, and sometimes I've been halfway through a haircut and I've been like, oh crap, this is like that. This could really, but you know what? I have confidence in myself.
Right.
Every time I have ever been in that place where I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm like, I know I'm going to pull it out. And the reason that I'm going to pull it out of the hat is because I know those fundamentals. Yeah. And they've never done me wrong because they're truths. Right. So yeah, that I think is just the beauty of this is, and another point that we had discussed is the interesting thing about America amongst many things.
Yeah.
But,
We'll really timestamp this. Good Lord.
but the interesting thing about American people is high value of education.
Yeah.
Right. And high value of ongoing education. And I've always loved that. And I think that sometimes, not all the time, because it's not, sometimes people can just start, I'm not here to trash anybody, but oftentimes people will come out of school having paid a good amount of money at cosmetology school.
Yeah.
And their cutting ability is at a certain point. Then what's on offer in America, because Americans value education. So where does everybody in the world come to if they're an educator and really good?
Yeah.
They come to America. And so then they have advanced cutting techniques and there's no bridge between what people are leaving cosmetology school with and then going to a class where they're doing things that are just off the scale. And so there's no ROI for that person who might be spending a couple of grand total investment going off to New York to learn advanced cutting when they don't have
they can't pin it back.
You got it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of classic cutting. It bridges that gap.
There was a class when I was coming into the industry, and I don't believe that the brand is around anymore, but I remembered I was like, I would take that because it was called Cut and Know Why. And really having that higher level. Really excited. If as a salon owner, listening to this, likely as we're having this conversation, if you're anything like us, we're in the business of helping others, right? So likely you're thinking of a number of individuals. Here's my thing, for having the class, doing it in a digital experience. If you're looking at this and be like, gosh, we're working with a number of salons right now that are newer in building. Some of them, multiple, 4, 5, 6, 10 people moving through the Artist Academy. If you're one of those individuals that I got towards the higher number, there may be a need that, actually, bringing Gareth in to do this in person, that may be something. And that is something that we're working on, actively as well. First step is, though, we wanted to be able to make this digital because the amount of people that you're going to be able to influence, like this is where I think like having a heart in education is cool, because today, in the old days, it'd be like, okay, cool. How many people are going to have the awareness and the budget to travel to see me? Whereas now it's how many people have one of these.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really, Gareth, as close this out. Just really want to acknowledge you. It's very rare from the lens that I've had in this industry to come across someone that with the passion, and you definitely, like, you have merit and credibility. The main thing, though, that you've navigated, and I think it's one of the most impressive parts about you, you do it without ego. Your humility,
100%.
And how humble you are, is just, it's a beautiful trait. And one of the things I think that's really great to have as an educator, because it doesn't matter as someone walks to you, it doesn't matter where they're coming from. You're going to be able to elevate them.
Yeah.
And thank you for the work that you put into this.
I want to share a story. I know this is a longer podcast, and I don't know if I've told you that. I've shared this before. We had our refine retreat back in November, and we're upstairs at this restaurant, and Tony, I know, was there, and it was you, and you were talking to some other salon owners and leaders, and you said, I get inspired every day coming in working with, no, you said, I enjoy, or I love coming into a salon where I'm inspired by younger people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I looked at Tony, and Tony looked at me, and we like guys like, that's not normal. When you say no ego, like, you're there to serve. Like, you could come in and be like, look at all I've done. And, and that's why you're doing a 3 class, cutting class with our salon, and like seeing our staff show up to that is because you served them first, and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna come learn from this guy. And it's something our industry needs a lot more of. And Christopher, you talked about is like, hey, we're in the future, we could do it now. bringing Gareth into your salon to do cutting classes. And in the future, we're looking to do one-day regional events where you can bring your team. Gareth, Aaron will be doing technical education, and the salon owners and leaders, we're doing business at the same time, 2 different rooms. That's what the future looks like. If there's a demand for it, we'll release it. I'm the idea guy. Christopher's like, whoa, hang on.
I'm 1,000% on board.
Let's get some legs to it. So, Gareth, as always a pleasure. Everybody that comes in contact with you, they walk away like they're more joyful. And that's, again, speaks to who you are. And I think like when you meet people, you don't throw around like, hey, this is what I've done. This is who I've met. Like I've learned more about today than ever because you just don't throw that around. So I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
And I appreciate your reels that you send me DM on Instagram. So you get one from Gareth. It's a banger. So as always,
PG banger.
Yeah. As always, if you want information on what we talked about today, you can go to our website, have a coach reach out. There's a button all over the page. We'll reach out to you, or you can just DM us on all social media. So as always, thanks for listening to the Refine Network podcast.